Fine, let's begin our session today. And as we will be dealing with refraction now, right? And we have already dealt with the case of apparent depth. So hopefully you guys remember the case of what we had dealt with in apparent depth, right? So what was apparent depth? What was the case which we discussed initially? That is when a person outside a swimming pool, when he observes a swimming pool, now the depth to him seems to be lesser than what it actually is, right? And the other case also we had discussed it to a certain extent. And what was the other case we had discussed? When a person is inside water now and is observing at things which are outside water, the height of that object would be seem to be more than what it actually is, right? And why does that phenomenon happen? That phenomenon happens because of the bending of light rays. Because of bending of light rays is basically what you looked at. So today we'll be continuing right from that topic. As I mentioned, we'll be deriving the formulas for those cases. So today we'll be deriving the formulas for apparent depth, right? So we'll be continuing this topic, that is apparent depth, and deriving the formulas. So let me draw the same ray diagram which I drawn yesterday. So what was the ray diagram which we considered? So this is your water, right? So you're now looking at the bottom of the water. You're now looking at the depth of the water. So let me consider a point P which is located at the bottom of the swimming pool, right? And let this point P be located at a depth of D from the surface of water, right? Fine. And now a person is looking at this. So how is a person able to see this? The person is able to see your swimming pool. The person is able to look at the point located at the bottom of the swimming pool because light rays from this point are able to reach inside, right? So let me draw two light rays. Let me draw the same light rays which I considered yesterday. One was this light ray, one which is perpendicular to the surface, and this ray will pass through undeviated because the angle of incidence is 0. So if the angle of incidence is 0, angle of refraction will also be equal to 0. And let me now consider another light ray, right? And that is something like this. And what will happen to this light ray after refraction? So this has an angle of incidence. Now this is your normal drawn at this point. So let me give these names. Let me give this rays name. So let this ray be Px. Let this ray be Py. So what will happen to your ray Py after refraction? After refraction, your ray Py, since it's passing from a denser medium to a rarer medium, this will bend away from the normal, right? This will bend away from the normal. So these are the two rays which are incident on a person's eye now, right? Again, I've drawn them far away to make your diagram clear. But if these two rays should be incident on a person's eye, you should be drawing a ray which is very close, right? But to make your diagram much more clearer, I've just taken this ray to be further away, right? So let this angle of incidence be I. Let this angle of incidence, let the angle of refraction be R, right? Okay, fine. And this will be your refracted ray for your ray Py, right? Now, according to an observer who's looking at this, according to this observer, these two rays seem to be coming from what point? These two rays seem to be coming from a point. These two rays seem to be coming from a point P dash rather than P, right? So he would say that the bottom of the swimming pool is located over here rather than located at this point, right? Because according to this observer, these rays seem to be coming from this point, from your point P dash, right? So this will now be your apparent depth, right? Your point P does not seem to be as deep as as deep as your real depth according to this observer on whom this light ray is incident. According to this observer, he will say that this point P is located over here. So this will be your apparent depth according to the observer. So let me represent that as d app, right? That is your apparent depth over here. So now what we'll be trying to do is we'll be trying to derive a formula for what's the relation between the real depth and apparent depth over here, right? So let the refractive index of water be mu. Let the refractive index of air be 1. So I'm doing it for the case where you're taking water and air, or the other medium is mu, right? And but you should also be able to derive it for other cases. That like if this is mu1 and if this is mu2, right? From this derivation, you should also be able to derive it for other cases as well, right? Anyway, so now we need to find out what the apparent depth will be equal to. So let me consider your triangle. Let me consider triangle PXY. Let me consider triangle PXY, right? And in your triangle PXY, this angle is I. So your angle XPY will also be equal to I, correct? Your angle XPY will also be equal to I. So what is tan I in this right angle triangle? What will tan I be in this right angle triangle? Your tan I will be equal to opposite divided by adjacent. So tan I will be equal to XY divided by PX. That will be equal to XY divided by D, right? So if I consider your triangle PXY, if this is your angle of incidence, this should also be your angle of incidence. This is your alternate interior angles, right? Both of these are perpendicular to the surfaces, to the respective surfaces. So this angle will also be equal to I. So what is tan I equal to? Tan I will be equal to XY divided by PX. And what is px equal to? Px is your actual depth of the point P from the surface of water, right? Similarly, let me consider triangle. Let me consider the triangle. So let me write it over here. Let me consider triangle P dash xy. Let me consider triangle P dash xy. That is this triangle, right? P dash is the point where you're seeing. P dash is where the point P would seem according to the observer, right? According to the observer, he would say that these rays are coming from the point P dash. So P dash x is your apparent depth now, correct? And now if this angle is R, this angle will be equal to R. This angle, the angle made by the dotted line to the normal over here, right? That angle will be equal to R. So this angle will also be equal to R. Once again, your alternate interior angles. So what will tan R be in this right angle triangle? Your tan R in this right angle triangle will be equal to xy divided by P dash x will be equal to xy divided by P dash x, or that will be equal to nothing but xy divided by apparent depth. That will be equal to xy divided by apparent depth, right? But now, if these rays should actually be incident on a person's eye, if these rays should actually be incident on a person's eye, is it safe to assume that your angle I should be small? Once again, if these two rays, or if all these rays coming from your point P, if they are incident on a person's eye now, your person's eye is just this small, right? So these rays should be pretty close to each other, right? So what should your angle I be? Your angle I should actually be a small angle. So here it's safe to take the assumption that your angle I is small. If your angle I is small, your R will also be small. And if your angles are small, we can write your tan I to be equal to I to be equal to sin I, right? So once again, please understand why we have taken the assumption your angle of incidence to be small over here. Since these rays must be incident on a person's eye now, these two rays must actually be pretty close to each other. So this ray must actually be somewhere over here to be incident on this person's eye, correct? So that means that your angle of incidence over here should be pretty small. So we're taking the assumption that your angle of incidence over here should be small. And if this should be incident on a person's ray, then the angle of refraction should also be equal to small, right? So both your angle I and angle R are small over here. So if angle I and angle R are small, can we write tan I to be equal to I to be equal to sin I? For small angles, if you remember your limits, as theta tends towards 0, tan theta by theta is equal to 1. Sin theta by theta is also equal to 1. So we can write tan theta to be equal to sin theta to be equal to theta, right? But here I'm assuming tan I to be equal to sin I because the angle I is small. Similarly, can I assume tan R to be equal to R to be equal to sin R? Or can I say tan R is equal to sin R over here, right? So because your angles I and angle R are small, instead of taking this to be your tan I, we'll now write this to be equal to sin I. So now I can assume that sin I is equal to xy by d, right? And similarly from this I can assume sin R to be equal to xy by apparent depth, right? And now we already know what will be a relation between sin I and sin R. That will be a Snell's law. So writing down your Snell's law for this particular case, what's the equation which we'll be writing over here? We'll write not 1 into sin I. That will be mu, that is refractive index of this medium, into sine of angle of incidence. That be the incident ray traveling in this medium, right? So mu into sin I should be equal to 1 into sin R. If you have two other mediums apart from air and water, you'll just substitute mu1 and mu2 accordingly in this formula. That will be the only difference if you have two other separate mediums apart from air and water, right? So you should be able to derive it for other cases as well. The only difference is when you're writing this equation, you write the relevant Snell's law equation, right? So mu into sin I will be equal to 1 into sin R. But what's the sin I equal to? I is equal to, where was sin? That was equal to xy divided by d. Your sin R is equal to xy divided by d apparent, right? So your xy gets cancelled. So what are we left out with? We are left out with d apparent is equal to, so let me write down the formula over here. Your d apparent will be equal to your actual depth divided by mu. Your actual depth divided by mu. Right? So this will be a formula in the case where your light ray is traveling from mu to 1, right? So here, where is the observer? The observer is in the rarer medium and he's observing an object in a denser medium. The observer is in the rarer medium and he's observing an object in a denser medium. So in that case, the depth seems to be lesser than what it actually is. This was what we had dealt yesterday, and we understood that was from the ray diagram because your rays are bending away from the normal over here. Your depth seems to be lesser than what it actually is. Your point P doesn't seem to be over here. Your point P dash seems to be over here. So now what your derived formula is for what depth will the person actually observe it to be? What will be the depth according to the person? So according to the person, the depth will be equal to the actual depth divided by mu. This is the depth which you will observe when you're looking at the bottom of the swimming pool. So if your swimming pool is 6 meters, let's say if it's Okay, let me take a pretty deep swimming pool. If it's 6 meters deep, so according to a person observing it, what will be the depth of the swimming pool? It will be 6 divided by the refractive index of water. We already know what the refractive index of water is. It's 4 by 3. So according to that person, the depth of the swimming pool will be 6 divided by 4 by 3. So that will be 18 by 4. So that will be 4.5 meters. So it's 4.5 meters, but actually it is 6 meters, right? So to a person observing it, it will seem like it's just 4.5 meters, whereas the actual depth is 6 meters over here, right? So hopefully you've understood this derivation. And here your derivations of ray optics are important because you need to know what assumptions we are taking over there, right? And the assumption which I've taken over here is your angle of incidence is small and angle of refraction is small. And why did we take that assumption? Because for these rays to be incident on a person's eye who's looking at it directly from above, your angles I and angle R should actually be small because these two rays should actually be close to each other. All your rays which are incident on this person's eye, they must have a small angle of refraction. They must make a small angle with the normal. So R is small. If R is small, automatically I will also be small. Hence, taking that assumption, you have derived that formula over here, right? So hopefully you've understood this formula, right? And now we'll be taking the next case in your apparent depth. That is now, here where was the observer? In this particular case, your observer was in the rarer medium. The object which is being observed, that is the bottom of the swimming pool, right? That was in a denser medium in this particular case, right? So when your observer is in the rarer medium and the object is in the denser medium, you get the formula to be equal to d by mu. If this was other values, if suppose this is mu denser and mu rarer, the formula becomes equal to, your apparent depth formula becomes equal to d divided by mu denser divided by mu rarer. If you want to write it for any two mediums, not just air and water, any two mediums as such, right? Then the formula becomes d divided by mu r. And you understand how? The only thing which will be changing over here is how we'll write your Snell's law equation. We'll write mu d into sin I is equal to mu r into sin r, right? And from that we'll get the answer to be of that, the formula to be in that manner, right? So hopefully this case is clear.